Hi, I'm Fraser Campbell and I head up the Accounts and Business Advisory team across the UK. And I'm delighted to be joined here today by Jill Streeter, who is one of my colleagues in the northeast of England, and also by Colin Haig, who is a senior restructuring partner. And we're here today to have a discussion around the question of business resilience. It's fair to say that the last 12 to 18 months have been somewhat challenging for business in general. While the economy isn't technically in recession, things are not easy out there. With the geopolitical and the geoeconomic environment impacting all businesses, changes to regulation and tax. There's never been probably as turbulent a time out there. No doubt Colin will correct me, he's probably seen some far more turbulent times. But I know from speaking to my clients, it's tough out there, and it's, there's not a huge amount of optimism among the general business community. So I'm delighted that Jill and Colin are here and are able to bring their experience and advice to the table. And Jill, if I could start with you, you obviously deal with a lot of owner-managed businesses of all shapes, sizes, across the region. What do you take as being some of the key fundamentals that are maybe lacking in that kind of cohort of businesses and business owners, kind of the basics that maybe are overlooked, that when you want to build a resilient business and take good decisions and maintain a growth pattern, what do you find people that's maybe generally lacking out there?
I think people sometimes lack the importance of actually having a business advisor who are involved in the business more than just that annual transactional set of accounts. I think more and more you have a chat with them and, they love the ideas of what you could offer them, the additional service line supports, the bookkeeping, VAT, the wages. But then when you actually go to speak to them about it and you put a price on it, they're all a bit too fee sensitive at the moment, as is the rest of the world. So they just kind of go back to doing what they're doing. And we're actually seeing a bit of an uptake on people leaving the bigger businesses like ourselves to go to those smaller bedroom accountants almost. And just at the point that their business is needing that support, they're taking their foot off the gas and going somewhere smaller. And that's going to stunt their growth massively. So I think that's, it's short-term vision from them.
So less short-termism, more investment in your own future, effectively.
We've had businesses who are turning over £2-3 million and they're good businesses. And they get their head turned by somebody who can do their accounts for under £1,000 with their corporation tax. We can't compete with that, but they need a lot more than what that small practice can offer them.
And in terms of the kind of the practical conversations you have with those clients that are relying on us for that ongoing kind of trusted support, what are the key things that you would advise a business that maybe doesn't quite have the reporting infrastructure or decision-making mechanisms that they really need in this tough environment? What are the kind of the practical things that you would recommend?
So I would always recommend to clients that they have, like some kind of, there's lots of cloud-based bookkeeping packages available now, so they can at least do their bank feeds and have reliable, semi-reliable management information. So they can at least see what their bank balance looks like, at least see what their turnover is. And then they can track their profits for the dividends. And I would always emphasise as an absolute minimum to give us the advantage of a year-end meeting, because at the very minimum, we want to have a chat about the tax-efficient profit extraction and things.
So it's about being on top of where your business is, and making sure that you're not going to steer into some surprises.
Yeah, exactly. Have your eye on the ball.
And what about having a plan? I certainly know from my clients that how they approach their business ranges from very, very organised, great plans and regular updates to those plans to, on the other hand, maybe not so much. What do you view the strength of having a plan as being?
It's a significant advantage, but I find many clients who certainly, are the kind of, if they're just a big emerging company who are just starting to do good, they just almost start kind of running flip-flops. They just get so carried away with it that they don't want to be looking at the plan, and they're just embracing the moment. And actually, it's going to come tumbling down if you don't keep an eye on it. But it's just trying to get over the message of the importance of that.
Yeah. Colin, you've operated in the restructuring and insolvency market for a few years now. When it comes to building or identifying a resilient business, and obviously you would, hopefully a resilient business never actually needs to come to your door. But what would you say are the characteristics that build resilience into a business in your view?
Well, I think our learned colleague here has touched on a few of the chestnuts. I think the good news is that in my experience, SMEs thus far have been astonishingly resilient. And I put that down to the fact that they're fleet of foot, key management is very close to the coalface. And if something is going pear-shaped, they can react very, very quickly. In terms of what differentiates, winners and losers in the SME space, it seems to me it's really down to those that have got the headspace to think strategically about what the business is doing, have got the MI suite sophisticated enough to chart its progress, and make a routine of sitting down and comparing actual to budget, and then trying to think about the causes of variance. And I suppose that one of the most frustrating experience I have, usually when I'm asked to look at a business by a stakeholder, be it equity or debt, is the attitude that some management teams have that MI is something you do to satisfy the bank or you satisfy equity. It's not a tool of day-to-day management. Wrong. Bottom line is that anyone these days that has not got full-time, real-time visibility of the cash is at risk, I would say.
So it's about the basics, as you were saying, Joe. It's the number of times you've gone into businesses and either it is a lack of the MI or the MI is there, it's not up to date and it's just been disregarded as opposed to being used to inform and make decisions.
And I've got a client exactly like that, actually. Everything was always retrospectively reviewed. You'd do the account, you'd realise his DLA was significantly overdrawn, you couldn't afford the tax company liability, and he's actually trying to get a liquidator in at the moment because it's just not salvageable, because he just literally took his eye, not so much took his eye off the ball, but buried his head in the sand.
So I've actually, one of my notes there says, don't be an ostrich. And you see that quite often where people know things are not going well.
And they're good at what they do. Their business is brilliant.
Exactly.
But they're just too busy doing that to give a monkeys about the account side of things.
And then it's too late. I mean, Colin, what do you tend to see what are the key warning signs that people should be looking out for if things are maybe starting to take a turn for the worse?
Well, to Joe's point, businesses don't just suddenly fail.
No.
It's basically what happens at the end of a cycle. And unfortunately, what I've learned over the last X years, 40 actually.
40, right? Okay.
The demise curve has quite a shallow gradient to start off with, but as the amount of distress ticks up, actually it accelerates. In fact, it accelerates exponentially. And when things start to go pear-shaped, it all happens quite
very
quickly. And typically, we get some very bright, very driven, very insightful owner managers coming to see us, where there is zero left in the bank account. There might be a winding up petition from HMRC perhaps. Frankly, there aren't too many options. There aren't too many places to go. That's a difficult place to work back from. So the message is always the same, which is that, there's no point in having an advisor that you've thought carefully about selecting and then not taking their counsel. We can help as much as when things are starting to look challenging as we can. When you're considering taking the business to the next level, flotation, M&A, whatever it is. So it's around thinking carefully about who you want as an advisor and then taking their counsel.
I mean, Jill, just on that those kind of early warning pieces, and imagine a scenario, and I'm sure there are plenty of clients there that you work with that they actually do have some MI. What are some of the pitfalls you sometimes see where people think things are great, but actually they're maybe starting to slow up? I'm thinking around profitability, cash flow, etc. Because ultimately it's the cash that Cash is king.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. And I think people just, you know, they might do their MI based on their bank statements.
Yeah.
But ultimately, those, you know, the profitability and their ability to take dividends and the solvency of the balance sheet is led by the accountant profit, not the money in the bank at the end of the year.
Yes.
So they see that and they think, I can still take a dividend.
I'm all right.
Everything's fine. But they're not obviously providing for the non-bank transactions, the accountant transactions that impact their ability to take those dividends and whatnot. And they just continue doing it. Or the same money in the bank and they continue to take a big director salary out. Well, actually, that could be sacrificed for the benefit of your solvent balance sheet. But and again, you know, it's short-sightedness.
Yeah. So really it comes down to when you do have the good information, is having those conversations with your advisor that can decode and deconstruct what it's saying and help you avoid those pitfalls and take the right decision.
And cash is king, but that cash is not there just available to draw.
No, we know that. We know that. Absolutely. And just touching on that kind of, you know, legalistic matter there, Colin, when things do start to go wrong, and if you're a director or even an individual who's trading, what are the kind of things that people need to look out for in terms of the right behaviour legally when things are tight?
Well, when it gets to the final stages of demise, it's fraught with exposure for management.
Yeah.
You know, there are extreme situations where directors can find themselves personally liable.
Yeah.
And again, the most important thing that management can do is to take advice from people that are properly qualified, and then to evidence the decisions they make on the back of that advice by way of, I would say, formal board minutes. And there is case law, actually, around one of the defences to wrongful trading is management can show that what they did may or may not have worked, but was based upon sound analysis and good logic.
Yeah.
And then it's just slightly surprising, I suppose, how many times, you know, management do some really quite extreme things, decide now is the time to pay off their overdrawn loan account, etc. You know, when really they ought to be thinking far more strategically. But I guess there's so much going on. It's around filtering information, isn't it?
Yeah.
And focusing down on the stuff that's really important. And that's where an advisor, I think, can add massive value.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So thank you both for that. That's been a really enlightening conversation. I think kind of my takeaways here are focus on the basics.
Yeah.
Make sure you do have MI and you use it. And where you're not quite sure what it's telling you, take advice from your trusted advisor and your accountant. They can help you decode and kind of steer a way forward and help you understand the impact of the decisions that you're taking. And from the other side of the spectrum, Colin, obviously steering that path when things are starting to get tight, it's the same message. Don't ignore the warning signs and take advice early and take measured decisions based on that advice.
And to Joe's point, I think that there has been a very healthy uptake in the quality of MI in my career.
Yeah.
I think IT has driven a lot of that. There's a massive advantage to be had from people that really have embraced that technology. And generally speaking, management teams are far more switched on than they were 30 years ago.
Yeah, most definitely.
But there's still work to be done, I'm afraid.
Okay.
Definitely.
But it's not all bad news.
No, absolutely not.
Well,
People are very
a little ray of
resilient.
sunshine there at the end. Things will get better. So Colin, we're talking about warning signs and also when things start to get tough. One of the key things that gets difficult is cash flow.
Yes.
How are you viewing the kind of funding environment out there today?
It's a great question for us. And the good news is there's lots of capital very interested in investing in UK, be it debt or equity. I suppose the point is that, you know, there's no point in taking something to investors which is not investable, or something to a funder which is not a bankable proposition. It's got to be taken to the market at a stage where there is something which we can help position as being an investable proposition. Yeah.
So what would your advice be to businesses that do have these investment and growth plans but are just finding it tough just now? What kind of concrete steps should they take if they are looking to raise that finance and not leave it too late? Well,
it's around, I think, speaking to the debt specialists at an early enough stage where actually they can give you an informed opinion.
Okay.
And, you know, there is still quite a lot our debt advisory guys can achieve if they're given a reasonable enough runway.
And timescale wise, how long do these kind of funding deals take?
Well, I've seen them do some spectacular things in 4 or 5 weeks, Fraz, but it's around, the quality of the information and having something to take to market before it's too late.
So back to those basics, know where you are, know what you need, take the advice and act upon it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Jill, Colin, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you for your time today. Hopefully you found some of that enlightening, and if you've got any questions at all, feel free to speak to your usual Azets advisor, either in terms of how we can help you build more robust MI reporting systems, help you through those tough decisions, or if you are finding things a bit difficult, do not hesitate to get in touch with us. Thank you.